All right, here we go. It looks like we're live here. Welcome to Win the Day podcast. It is Wednesday today. We got a few folks out. Jeff Adamson's enjoying his life in Mexico right now. Mark Simpson is getting his dog somewhere in Mississippi near Tupelo, where he got his dog. He got a new dog that's getting trained, and we'll see how that goes. But that's where he is today. And Julie is on a family reunion trip, I believe. So we got Destiny and Andrew here, and we got a really good conversation I'm excited about. First of all, though, yesterday, I hope it was super smoking awesome. Tomorrow, I hope is even better, but we're going to talk about how to win today. And what I want to talk about today is, real quick, having a voice. And I don't mean like Pavarotti. I mean like somebody who has help me out here, Destiny. How come I'm struggling? Somebody who has a position, a cause, a thing, a voice. They want to give voice to something. Yep. I'll give you an example. My voice is I want people to live great retirements. 50% of Gen X and baby boomers say they don't have enough money to retire. Tragic. So if you don't have enough money to retire, you can't retire. Or I don't know what that looks like. It sucks, and it's unnecessary. That's the saddest part of it. It's unnecessary, because you can do something about it. So I'm giving voice to invest, and more specifically, invest in real estate. And the reason why is because it goes up over time. It doesn't go up all the time, but it goes up over time. And the longer you own it, the more time you give your investment, your retirement money to increase because of inflation and appreciation, right? Mm-hmm. And the more time you give a buyer or a renter time to pay off your mortgage, such that in 15 or 30 years or some amount of time, you own this incredible asset that somebody else, your renter, paid for, and it's throwing off cash that you're going to use to live a life worth living. That's my voice. I'm giving voice to that. Okay, so figure out who you are and who you want to give voice to, because that's going to let you stand out in a crowd, right? You're going to start talking about your thing, loud, proud, and with passion. And that's going to attract people to you, all right? That also I want that. I want what this guy's talking about or she's talking about or whatever. And that's how you stand out in a crowd. And when you start to stand out, you get a tribe, a following, a group of raving fans, all right? Your people. But here's the thing. The second part of that coin is you got to take a stand, all right? Because you're going to get pushback. I get it all the time on social media because I'm out there loud with my bullhorn. Invest property, people. Please invest property. Here's how, here's where, here's when, here's all that stuff. And then I get, the weekend or the basement warriors. Mm-hmm. It's a terrible time to invest. The stock market's bad. All these, myriad of reasons why you should not invest. And they're not wrong if you're playing a short game. But I ain't playing a short game. I'm playing a long game. And I want everybody to play a long game such that it looks like this. Go buy your property now. Is it going to throw off big money so you can retire today? No, it won't. The market isn't that right now. But what it'll do, it'll act like an annuity. If you can find a property that cash flows, doesn't cost you any money, it costs you nothing because a renter's going to pay for it. Okay, but it's not going to make you a lot of money. It might make you a few hundred, maybe $1,000 a month or something. But what it's going to make you is your retirement, because in 15 or 30 years, that property is going to be paid for. You're going to own it free and clear when it comes time to retire. And that thing's going to appreciate in value from whatever to whatever. Because we know that real estate doesn't go up all the time, but it goes up over time, right? So in 15 to 30 years, it's almost certainly, and I can't guarantee it, but I can tell you almost certainly if you buy something today, in 30 years, it's going to be worth a shit ton more than it is now. And even better, it'll be free and clear to you because the renter paid for it. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to throw off this cash to you to use on a month to month to pay your bills, okay? That's my thing. once you figure out what your thing is and you take a stand. So I write back to these guys, you're not wrong when you play the short game, but I'm playing a long game. Go get your property now, set it aside, let somebody else pay for it. And you can almost forget about it, get a manager on it, let somebody else deal with it. And you're going to wake up when it's time to retire. You're going to look and your place can either paid for it or almost paid for it. You're going to have this massive situation that is good. And once you have that in place, now you can start being more aggressive, more day-to-day. How do I win more money in the short term with your investments? So great. Because you have this underlying property that's going to be there in the end. That's my thing. That's why I'm passionate about it. I'm on here all the time talking about it. So you new agents, you old agents, you any agent, like I said, 50% of boomers and Gen X don't have a retirement. Gross. And you can change that. Start now. Start small. Let time be your friend, right? So that's what I'm passionate about. So find out whatever you're going to be passionate about. Give it a voice. Start talking about it in your social media. Start putting it out in your advertising, your marketing. And what's going to happen is you're going to become the authority on that space within the real estate space. You're going to be the go-to, the person. And not everybody's going to identify with you. Some are going to push back on you and you take a stand against them. But enough will that they're going to recognize, you know what? She's the one that does this. She's the military reload. She's the one first-time home buyers. He's the one that does investment, whatever. And when you think of them, that's what you think of, right? Mm-hmm. So, guys, I can't put it in your head strong enough. Stand out from the crowd. There's millions of realtors. You got to stand out. And the way you stand out is to stand for something and give voice to something. Become the authority in that space. And you can't be the authority for everything. If you stand for everything, you stand for nothing, right? We've all heard that.
Yep.
You got to pick a date and dance with them, right? And when you do, people will line up to work with you. And it takes some time to build that up. You feel me on this, Destiny?
I do. I think it's a great lesson.
Because you're trying to figure it out right now. Destiny's been in the business a year and a half, 2 years, right?
Correct.
Trying to figure out where you're going to go. That's most people.
Yep.
Andrew, would you agree with me? Most agents have no freaking clue what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. They don't have a business plan. They don't have goals. That's something we teach.
Right.
That's important. It's hard to focus on something and do it long term unless you have a goal. Mm-hmm. I mean, like for me right now, running is a struggle because I don't have a race that I'm training for. It's so much easier when you have a goal in mind to do the activities you need to do on a day-to-day basis. Otherwise, you lose track and you lose track of your focus and you don't do it because it just doesn't seem important.
So vital. So what we got to do, and Destiny, you guys spend some time thinking about it. We spend time on this, talking about it. Uh-huh. Who do I want to be? What slice of the real estate world do I want to own? Mm-hmm. Right? And you had mentioned something earlier that you really enjoy helping people.
I do.
Tell me again, who do you like to help?
So I really enjoy helping those first-time home buyers. That's where a lot of my business has been centered around, but then also people who are transitioning because of a divorce or a death. That's happened a few times as well in my business. And it gives me that sense of reward and service to the client.
Think about it. Think if you can help people like that in that position when they're vulnerable.
Right.
And get paid to do it.
Exactly. That's and they trust me, they put their trust in me. And I think it just makes for a much more rewarding transaction.
Love it. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. When you're picking your thing, be a little bit aware and you can make changes. There's no doubt you can change, but give it some thought in advance. Because once you start planting some seeds, you got to love up on those seeds. And I'd hate to have you have to start replanting somewhere else in something else. Now it happens and it can happen and maybe should happen in some cases, but give it some thought first so you can sow your seeds and probably have them work out. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. You don't have to get locked in, but the better idea you have about it, the more likely you're going to have success sooner.
Correct. But I like what you said before we started. You said if that's what you're going to do, you're probably going to need to get more volume. So it's picking and choosing what you want to do and how that's going to benefit you. And you're right, because the price points are going to be lower, but it means you're going to have to work a little harder to get more volume to reach your goal.
I know people who own dollar stores that make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who make a lot of money at Neiman Marcus. There's ways of doing both.
Right.
Andrew, give us some insight.
So I'm going to reflect back on when you're talking about planting the seeds. I was meeting with an agent yesterday, and I was telling the story that I went on a listing appointment. I was about 10 years in the business, and went on this appointment, and he signed all the paperwork, and I stood up, get ready to leave. And he says, "Hey, do you want to know why I called you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I assume it's because I do a lot of marketing in this area."
You're like, no.
Well, no, not really. He said, kind of, but. And so he walks over to his, he says it's because you knocked on my door. And I guess I got big eyes or something, because it's just kind of a weird glaze over my eyes. I was thinking, I haven't done that in years. He must be mistaken. He walks over to his junk drawer, pulls out my business card from like 10 years earlier, and says, "Yep, you knocked on my door. You're the only person that did it. And I never needed to sell my house until now." So you're planting seeds today. You don't know when they're going to bloom. It might be tomorrow, might be next week, might be 3 months from now, but it might be 10 years from now.
Love it.
But you got to keep continuing to plant and water those seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Or
it.
you're not going to have a business for long.
Yep. Let me ask you something. Destiny, in the space you want to occupy,
Right.
think in your mind, is there an agent that dominates that space?
Not that I can think of. I honestly think there's probably more majority agents in that space.
But when you think of that space, you don't think of an agent or a few agents?
No,
Well, maybe you need to be that person that people think about then, right?
you're right.
Because then when you think of the quote unquote luxury space, does anybody jump in your mind, or can you envision people?
Yes.
Yeah, you can, right?
Right.
Even on the military reload, some people come to mind for me.
Right. Same.
So, do that exercise. If you're out there watching this, just think about the space you want to occupy that you're going to make your own, and think, is there anybody out there? If you can't think of anybody in that space, well, it's wide open for you. Go get it. It's going to be a race, because somebody's going to see you and say, wait a minute, I want what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a little bit of a race. And the winner who gets there first gets 90% of the benefit. If you don't believe me, let me ask you this. Andrew, who invented the airplane?
I don't know who invented it, but the Wright brothers were the first to succeed.
Who was the first to fly? The Wright brothers, right?
Yeah, Wright brothers.
Who was second?
I have no idea.
There you go, right?
Yep.
Be first is my point.
I like that.
So when you guys think through that, now you can be second, right? Remember Avis in the car rental? Hertz is number one. Avis, we try harder, right? You can do it. You can be second. Burger King is there to McDonald's, and there's a few others. There's no doubt. But you're going to have to try harder.
Mm-hmm.
Get there first. It's a better situation. So, but it's not imperative that you're there first. It's imperative that it's in your heart. That's your passion, because that'll come out, right?
Right.
So you want to be able to give voice. If you want to stand out, and it's vital that you stand out, especially in a world where there's a gazillion realtors, stand out. And the way you do it is to have a voice. I decided when I got in this, I was going to be the condo. We're going to do condos. And I'm pretty sure that when people think of condos here, we're at the forefront of a lot of thoughts. Not enough, but in a lot. So that's a good little exercise. What's my space that I want to occupy, and who jumps to mind? If nobody does, then figure out, how do I create this? How do I own this slice? Go after it on social media. Go after it in your marketing. Go after it in your conversations. Everybody you talk to, all your conversations. Andrew, what else are you seeing out there?
The market seems like it's picked up a little bit.
Is it number of transactions? Is it up? I looked at the year over year, and we're getting crushed. My group's getting crushed, but I think the market in general is down in terms of transactions. Maybe you'll see something different. Prices are holding up. If you're out there, prices are holding up, unless you see something different. Transactions are hard. In spots, they're up for sure. I'm
days on the
curious to
market
hear what
definitely up.
happens if rates drop. If that's going to have an impact and what impact it might have. We'll have to see about that. All right, so here we want to talk about how to win the day. Let's talk about how to win the day. What I'm here to tell you right now, people, is if you're going to stand out, and you better stand out, have a voice. Give voice to something and own it, whatever your thing is, right? This is your differentiator. This is what makes you different from everybody else. Give voice to that. And be prepared to stand up when somebody pushes back, because they're going to push back, right? It's a horrible time to invest. Yeah, but no. It's still a very good time to invest, because you don't want to be eating cat food when you're 70 years old, right? You know, we laugh about it, but we see it here, don't we, Andrew? There's a lot of realtors that are long in the tooth that are still out there trying because they got to, because they want to, right? Don't be that person. You don't have to be that person if you make some moves now. And you don't have to buy a multi-million-dollar property right off the bat. Go buy something small. Go buy an $80,000 property that you put 5% down or whatever the percents are and build up. Because I promise over 15 years, over 30 years, you're going to wake up. And we're all going to wake up 30 years older than now, hopefully, right? And you're going to feel a lot better of it 10 years from now, knowing you got this much already paid off on this thing and it's doing this. 20 years from now, and you got this much paid off from it and it's doing this. 30. Andrew, let me ask you, Andrew, you're 50-something, right?
53.
Do you have any properties that are throwing off cash or somebody else is buying for you right now?
Not right now.
Do you wish you did?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Went through a divorce a couple years ago, and it.
Right. Life happens. Of course you do. Destiny, do you want that?
Oh, for sure.
Of course you do. So let's just make sure we're not sitting here in 10 years having that same conversation. Or if we do, we can't say, yeah, I do. Right? Because it'll change everything. I can tell. It changes everything for me because I know this market sucks. Fine. It sucks. It sucks for my people. It sucks for me. It sucks for whatever. But it's not changing my life. Right? Because I got this underlying stuff going. Right? And a lot of that was lucky. I didn't have anybody like what we're having this conversation now in my ear. Go buy something. Go buy something. Right? So we're that person. So stand out, because I want you to make enough income that you can invest in something so that renters or somebody else will buy your place for you. And you wake up in 20 years, 30 years, and you have this. Now, Andrew, you're going to wake up and you're going to be 80 something. But you know what? If I'm 80 something, I would be much happier 80 something if I had a property that was throwing off cash, right? And here's the thing. You're going to be 70 something and that thing's going to be well on its way. Or you're going to be 60 something and you're going to know you're sitting good and you can start leveraging stuff. So if you're older, if y'all are older, it just means you start. If you're younger, it means you start. Okay. And so today we want to win the day. We want to talk to people about where they're at in their ownership cycle so that you can help them buy, sell, or own better. And you want to start building your tribe, your people. Wait. Got some Victoria saying something. I'm going for my third by the end of the year. So that means she has 2 already. See?
Grab Vicky P.
And Victoria, let me ask you something. Is it comforting knowing you have 2? I mean, 2 might not be enough. I don't know how much you're bringing or what you have, but I bet it changes how you address things, how you go after things, the things you go after. It's such a good thing. She says, absolutely. How great. And it's true. Let me ask you, Victoria, you're able to do this because you're a multimillionaire or your family supporting you or your husband or wife or your other or whatever it is. They set this all up for you, right? This was easy for you. Is that true? Let's see what the answer to this one is. I already know the answer. Some people have it, right? Some people have things given to them, right? Most don't, right? She says, laugh out loud, not at all. She's out there hustling. She's out there doing it. All right, let me ask you this, Victoria. Is there any discipline, commitment, sacrifice involved in any of that? Oh, wait a minute. She already answered. Sacrifices. Boom. Okay. Oh, let me add one more. Is it impossible? Can you do it? Can anybody do it? And I know you're special and you're gifted and all that in a good way. Can people do it? Because I'm here to tell you, anybody can do it. You don't start at the top, you start at the beginning and you end at the top if you do it right. But one thing, if you don't start, you end at the beginning if you don't start, right? And that's just, she says it's very possible. She's not special. I'd argue with that.
Yes, she is.
So there you go.
And she started young. I'm so proud of her.
Right? Right? Yeah. The fact is she started. So it's very cool. And if she did it, everybody can do it. Not that you're not special. We know you are. We love you. But my point is you can do it. I could never, ever. No, you can. Okay? So today we're going to win the day.
John?
What's that?
When'd you start?
Are you talking to Victoria?
No, you.
Okay, so I didn't even get into real estate till I was 35 years old. I was living a life. I was traveling, having fun. I didn't get married, right? I was that guy. And then when did I start? I started because I was helping people buy and sell investment properties. And I was looking at, and I was making good, right? I was making 10, 15,000 a check, but they were making hundreds of thousands a check. And I started thinking, and then I started getting a little older and I was like, okay, at some point, am I going to not want to do this anymore? Or I want to make a lot more money, or what does retirement, all that stuff look like? Because I never had anybody tell me, never. And, but then one day I saw all these people, my clients, making that money. And I said, all right, I'm going to start looking into this. I'm going to buy something. And my wife and I were both in real estate. We started looking at properties. We made an offer on one in 2005 or 6, 7, something like that. And we didn't get it. We got outbid on it. And I was like, you know how you make the offer and you start dreaming in your mind, okay, here's my retirement set. This is going to be good. We're not even closed yet, right? We were going to offer full price, but we held back like $5,000, so we have some room. And we're like, okay, did you hear back? Did you hear back? I haven't heard anything. Call them. Did you hear back? Call them. Then I call, expecting, oh, hey, congratulations. It's a great offer. But we're in a highest and best multiple offer situation. Give us your highest and best by Friday. The hell? Right? And then we're like, oh, and then you get all ego driven, right? We're like, okay, here's the list. Let's go 20 grand over list. We're not losing. We're not losing. And we lost. Broke my heart. There goes our retirement. We'll never. But then we got over it and learned a little bit. Got the next one. It was a house in Frangista Beach that we must have bought in 2010-ish, somewhere around there, for like 500, and we ended up selling it for 3 years later for like, what did we buy it for? We bought it for like 400 and sold it for 6 or something. One of those things. Took the money, bought a condo with the 1031 money, free and clear. That now throws off $80,000 annual. We bought that thing for like $250. If I sold it today, it'd probably be around $600.
Nice.
And then we bought another one, and another one, and another one. And then Gary got in my head, and I ended up buying 9 properties a few years ago. We only have mortgages on a couple, and they're all cash flowing. Okay.
Very nice.
So it's cool. So, but this has been over, and it's not automatic overnight, right? So that was like 06 or 2010, and we're at, so 14 years. 14 years it took me to get all this. But the first ones are always the hardest, and then you get it figured out. And I'll tell you the way it worked is, we're getting long here, but if people jump off, they want. But here's the way it worked. I was lead generating in a building. And so I pull up all the condos for sale in that building, right? And this is back in the time there wasn't hardly any for sale. And I saw there was like 2 or 3 in that building. Okay. And then I pulled up all of them, all the competitors and everything, because I wanted to see what the whole market looked like. It looked tight, and then I looked wide. And then I noticed that there was a not matching number. Because when I looked in the building, there was 3. And when I looked wide, there was 2 in that building. I was like, wait a minute. Why is this one not here? And the agent hadn't indicated it was Gulffront. They didn't check that box. So it was a ghost. If you were looking for Gulffront property, it didn't show up. You had to specifically look for that building. And nobody just looks at one building, right? They look at Gulffront. So I called the guy up like, hey, you have any offers? No. Any activity? No. Weird. Huh. Okay. Tell you what, I might have a guy. I'll call you right back. And I called my wife. Oh my God, we got to buy this place. And we did. And that, we had just done a 1031. We got some money waiting, and we put it together. The rest is history, so to speak. Then we just started gobbling them up. So, yeah, cool. It's a fun story. It's worked. But now I'm not buying crap because the money's tight, right? And but I'm circling the wagons, getting ready, learning, studying, because I know that the market's about to take off, and it's going to take off again. And that's you earn a bunch of money when it takes off, and then when it starts to peak or whatever, you start to see it. And Gary said you and I buy Gary's thinking on this. You make your money on the way up. You start making money. You start buying stuff because you can see it going up. And then it gets to the top, and you hang on. You tie a knot in it, and then you ride it down. And you circle the wagons and start buying on the next up. And that's the way it works. So I'm not buying yet, but probably in the next 18 months, I'll look like Pac-Man. Right? So should all of you. All right? So there you go. Win the day. Let's go do our lead gen. Yep. Ask your questions. Get your emails. Do all that stuff. Circle back tomorrow. Have a great day, people.
Bye, guys.
Happy Wednesday.
Bye-bye. All right, there you go. You got it, Destiny. You ready to win? Yep, good.